Hello and welcome. This is a great opportunity to bring you all inside the walls of the Brunswick Police Department. My name is Scott Stewart. I'm the chief here. I have a total of 33 years experience coming this April. I was lucky enough to have been chosen to be the chief in June of 2020. The last 2.5 years have been an amazing time, and I'm very proud of the men and women here in the Brunswick Police Department, which you'll get to see and meet some of them today. We here at Brunswick PD are a very professional agency. We recently acquired our accreditation to the Maine Chiefs of Police. What that does is that ensures that we have the latest policies and procedures that are up to date, and we are able to deliver a high quality professional product of resources and services to the public. Our current rank structure is comprised of commanders, lieutenants, and sergeants. One commander oversees the patrol division. The other commander oversees all support services. You'll learn more about that from themselves. We're very proud of our community policing efforts here at Brunswick Police Department. We've had very good success with some of our programs to include Coffee with a Cop, Comb with a Cop, our Open Air Club, Good Morning Program, Sand for Seniors, National Night Out, Real Men Wear Pink, and Faith in Blue. The first that we did was Coffee with a Cop. That was an opportunity to have a conversation with a police officer, not on an official level, but just on a one-to-one sit down have a cup of coffee and talk. We pick a different establishment and we make arrangements to be there for a certain time, and people show up, and we've had a lot of fun with that. We've done an annual Cone with a Cop where we offer ice cream cones through the union, provides those to local children during the summer event. We have an Open Air Club where we take a number of kids to different outdoor events. We've taken them fishing, we've taken them boating, we've taken them four-wheeling, and trying to teach them the skills of being outdoors, and that has been a lot of fun. We have a Good Morning program where we will sign various seniors up for a telephone call every morning to just make sure that they're okay. That's been a lot of fun, and the dispatchers look forward to those calls every day. Sand for Seniors, where we will deliver a bucket of sand to a senior for their icy steps or driveway. We have a National Night Out event that's every year. We've done it over at the Parks and Rec, and we have all of our officers show up and all of our equipment and resources and things for the people to see what exactly the police department has for services for them, and it's focused a lot on kids as well. That's a great time. We participate in the Real Men Wear Pink, where you'll see us around town doing various events to raise awareness for breast cancer. That is one of the reasons you'll see officers wearing beards this time of year. For the month of November and December, they are allowed to wear a beard if they pay towards that Real Men Wear Pink program. And then our last event that we've been doing is the Faith in Blue, where we have an event on the mall and are out there with some of our local faith-based groups.
All right, so Chris, I have you in the downtown sector today, car 7. Corey, I got you in the west sector, car 10. Over the weekend they had a couple of thefts, some OUIs, and we've been having a lot of retail thefts. It's Christmas season, so it's busy at the malls down in Cook's Corner, Walmart, so let's make a presence down there. As always, show ourselves on Main Street, get after the vehicle traffic, mornings and the afternoons at the busy times, and try to be present as much as you can down to the stores, all the shopping.
We're now in the communications division, where we're here with one of our communications officers, Rebecca Carter. Rebecca?
Hi, I'm Rebecca Carter. I am a 5-year veteran with the Brunswick Police Department as a 911 communications officer. We provide all emergency and non-emergent requests for service for Brunswick, and we contract to cover Freeport as well. We also cover Boston's Island, which is a small portion just off of Freeport for their emergent needs. For the year 2021, our communications division received almost 40,000 calls for service that were entered into our system. That's not including walk-up, requests for information, officer requests for information, or other phone calls that don't result in a need for a service. We have so many screens here because we like to space out everything that we have to look at for an ergonomic reason. Our top left screens are our 911 screens. They're actually unique to the state of Maine, and every 911 center has the same setup of screens for the top left for 911. Ideally, we can go to any 911 center within the state and be able to log in and answer Brunswick or Freeport's 911 calls for service. The left-hand screen is what will show red when a 911 call is coming in. This grayed out part will show an address or a tower site. If it's a cell phone calling in, it will show the tower site that it is bouncing off of. The right-hand screen is our mapping. So we have two different options. We have a generic view, which takes a lot of the detail out of the image. And then we have a layer for an aerial version, so that we're able to see different landmarks to be able to direct our emergency services a little bit better to where they need to be responding. We utilize a program called IMC. IMC is a record management system that's utilized by many different public safety agencies around the state. It shows our available units that are police, fire, and EMS, and we dispatch them to any call for service that we enter in, which shows for my particular screen on the bottom. It shows us where our units are and what they're doing, how long they've been on that call, and if we need to be checking on them to make sure that they're all right. So on our bottom left-hand screen, we see our call for service generic page that we open up. It's where we enter the location, the calling party, or the phone number they're calling from, and exactly what's happened. Whenever someone calls 911, those are the first three questions that we'll always ask. We ask for the location first so that we know where to send responders. Then we ask the number they're calling from, so just in case we get disconnected that we can call them back. And then for them to tell us exactly what happened. For medical and fire calls for the state of Maine, we are law mandated to be certified to use medical and fire protocols. So we will always go through them for every fire and medical call possible that comes in. So when we enter a call for service, it will automatically pop up our automated protocol system, which is called ProQA. And we'll enter the automatic address. The phone number will auto-populate if we've entered it. And then we'll go down through exactly what happened. All right, so our final screen is on the bottom right, and this is our radio console. It's come a long ways from just pushing buttons and pulling cords around. We just point and click at whichever frequency we need to touch, and we speak over that frequency. So like you could see on that one lit up because a Brunswick police unit is giving us some radio traffic for us to answer. All right, and we are going to show you what happens now when you call 911. This is going to be a training call only. 911, what's the address of your emergency? Mill and Pleasant Street. Okay, what's the telephone number you're calling me from in case we get disconnected? Okay, tell me exactly what happened. Okay, is anyone hurt? Okay, is there any smoke or fluids coming from any vehicle involved? Any airbags from any vehicle involved? Okay, can you describe the vehicles for me? And are they still in the roadway?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Is there any way we could move them to the side of the road?
I can try.
Okay, if you could just make sure everyone turns on their flashing hazard lights, they're aware of approaching traffic, and keep anyone away from where the emergency responding vehicles are going to be arriving. That would be helpful. We're going to get some help started that way. If anything changes, give us a call right back, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Brunswick 27.
Go ahead.
27, can you respond to Mill and Pleasant for a PD only crash? red vehicle and a black truck. They are blocking the roadway. No injuries.
10-4.
So in that training video you just saw, we asked specific questions in a specific order, and that's so we can get you the correct help that you need in the most efficient way possible. We asked for the location first because that's the most important thing. We need to know exactly where help needs to go. Secondly, we ask about a phone number to call back just in case we get disconnected, so we can be reconnected with you to be able to ask for further information or to give you some potentially life-saving instructions. Third, we ask exactly what happened. We need to know exactly what you're going through so that we know, again, what help to send you. For example, during a car crash, we need to know exactly where the crash has occurred. We need to know if there's any other hazards involved, such as fluids leaking from the vehicle or smoke coming from the vehicle, which would indicate the fire department needs to be sent as well. We need to know if anyone is injured or if there's any airbags that have deployed. That would indicate a rescue needs to be dispatched. Otherwise, it is just a property damage crash, which would just require an officer response.
Morning, my name is Christopher Bible. I'm a patrol officer with Brunswick Police Department. And this is what our typical cruiser setup looks like. This is what you'll see driving around town all the time. I'm currently assigned to the downtown sector. So I'll be patrolling mainly Main Street in our business district. So if you want to hop in, we'll go take a ride around. We on day shift have 3 officers and a supervisor. We split the town up in 3. So we've got a west, a middle, and an east. Each officer is assigned to one of those and responsible for the calls within, but not necessarily stuck in there. We can go between them and float around and help each other out and back up. And one thing I like to do throughout my shift too is pretty much drive the entire perimeter of my sector. That way I can say, well, there's no trees down, there's no roads blocked or anything like that, no vehicles off the road to the best of my knowledge. Instead of just focusing in one little spot, like driving up and down Main Street 27 times. Good morning.
Hi.
Officer Bible, Brunswick PD. So the reason I pulled you over this morning is when you went past me back there, you had your cell phone up right in front of your steering wheel.
Oh, yeah, I was just reading these directions. I'm trying to get somewhere. Sorry.
Okay. Do you have your driver's license, registration, and insurance?
Yeah.
Where are you coming from this morning?
My house.
Where's that at?
Oh, Bath.
Where are you headed to?
My sister's house in Brunswick.
Okay. Insurance is on your phone?
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you a few minutes to look that up, okay?
Okay.
Hang tight for me.
All right.
What'd you have maps going for?
Oh, because I was trying to figure out how, because she lives over there somewhere in the Bowdoin College area. But I was
Okay.
stopping at my bank first, and then that's all.
Is that this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, you did get a ticket earlier this year for using your phone.
Oh, that was this year?
That was.
Okay.
So, if I wrote you right now, it would be $300
Oh.
because it's your second one in the lifetime.
Okay.
I'm going to take your word for it that you were just looking at maps.
Yes.
But are you aware that in Maine, and I'm sure you've been told this last time, Maine is a completely hands-free.
Okay.
You can't be holding it and driving, nothing like that.
Okay.
You can tap once to accept a call, to hang up a call, anything like that. Okay?
Well, that part I didn't know, but okay.
No more holding your phone while you're driving, okay?
So much.
And on top of that, you're going a little bit fast down this road, okay?
Oh, okay.
Do you know the speed limit on this road?
35?
25.
Oh, okay.
A little bit fast.
Okay.
Watch the speed, no more phones.
Thank
Drive
you
safe.
so much.
So every year at the Brunswick Police Department, we get new cruisers. It varies a little bit year to year. For instance, this last year, we had to replace 2 of our cruisers because officers who were out driving on patrol were struck by other vehicles. Our officers like to joke year in, year out that they get new offices every year because they live in these cruisers when they're out there keeping the streets safe. So we obviously put a lot of mileage on these cars year in, year out because our patrol officers are constantly out on the road. And all of our police cruisers have the latest and greatest equipment that our officers need to do their job effectively out on the streets day in and day out. From computers to run license and vehicle checks, e-citation printers, radars, emergency equipment. In the cars and on the officers, we always have Narcan that we carry on us. There's a lot of agencies across the United States that are doing this now, and it's not just for us. The very first day that we ever implemented this policy and our offices started carrying it, a life was saved in Brunswick. We get new cruisers every year. It's planned for, it's in the capital line in the budget, and what we normally do is we'll first put them out on patrol, equipped with the latest and greatest that I explained prior. And then once it's had a few years on the road, we'll transition it back out to a detective or to an administrator. We're really happy and fortunate to have these new cars. The last few years have been very challenging, as many of you know, between trying to find parts, trying to find new vehicles, still feeling the effects of COVID. I'm aware of many agencies whose 2022 cruiser orders were flat out canceled. So not only we were able to get the ones that we needed for our normal replacement, but the 2 cruisers that we had to replace from our officers being crashed into were also replaced.
And as part of my responsibilities as the Support Services Commander, I am also the overseer of the Special Response Team, otherwise known as SRT. Some agencies call them SWAT. There's various acronyms that are used, but we are the SRT here in Brunswick, and we're an emergency response team. It's not always associated with hostage barricade type scenarios or counterterrorism. It could just be a rescue, a high-risk rescue. And we have a vehicle, we have a ballistic vehicle. It was obtained, and it's an anomaly that we get to use it, which is a good thing. But when we do need it, it is very valuable to us. And it's nothing that we would need to reach out to an outside agency to come in for. Portland does have a couple of these vehicles. The state has some that are available, but we have our own, so we don't need to wait. If there's an emergency, we need to get in, we have this vehicle that can respond. As part of the special response team, with Brunswick, we do have agreements with other teams in the state, and we do assist each other. We don't respond to a lot of calls, but when we do, when we're needed, we have a very quick response. We train. We have an extensive training program. It's done monthly, and those guys are at the top of their game and they're ready to go when needed. Part of the special response team is the crisis negotiations team, also known as CNT. The crisis negotiations team, though affiliated with the SRT, is its own separate unit, and that's run by Lieutenant Mears. And that team there, again, they train monthly. They are used quite often if there's a situation where, whether it's a suicidal subject or just someone that we need to communicate with in a high-risk environment, we can always call the CNT to come in and initiate contact. Again, we do work in conjunction with one another, so the CNT and the SRT does work together. It's possible they might be operating out of the vehicle at times, depending on the scenario. With that said, we don't respond just to emergency calls here in Brunswick. If there's a rescue in another jurisdiction and they need us, we will respond. Again, our officers are very well trained. There's some government trainings available to us, and we take advantage of every opportunity we can. There are a lot of grants available. We're always keeping our eyes open for grants, and when we get this grant money, we find an officer that's that needs training or that we want to have the training, and we send them. It's invaluable. It's nothing that we can do in-house a lot of times, so we take advantage of these training opportunities as they present themselves. The special response team also works in conjunction with the UAV unit, which is the drone, and we have a very good unit that these units are very cohesive. They work well together, and again, as a support services commander, it's sort of my responsibility to make sure that all these units work well together.
Hello, my name is Dan Sylvain. I am the Marine Warden and Harbor Master for the town of Brunswick and the Police Department. So this morning we're out here. We are going to do a couple of field studies just to check on some test plots and then pull some moorings out of the water. So right now, as we're traveling over the mud, I'm actually looking for holes which will show signs of where we could actually find clams and quahogs inside the mud. So with my position, I am in charge of watching over 61 miles of coastline for the town of Brunswick. My main job is to watch over the commercial harvesters that the town has picked. Right now we have 64 commercial harvesters which can harvest as much product, whether it's clams, quahogs, razor clams, or oysters. They can dig throughout the entire season, which would be year-round. The only thing that would stop them from digging would be in the winter months when ice will build up over the mud. What we do is every 2 years, we, as the town, will come out to do site checks on the mud. Right now we're on the flats off of McCoy Landing in McCoy Bay. And what I'll do is I'll do a 1 foot by 1 foot square, check the area to see how many clams and or quahogs are in that plot. Then there is a scientific number that is used to figure out how much product is in this area. So now, as I was just explaining how we do our test plots, I'm actually going to hop off the boat and show you what it looks like. So what we're actually looking for out here is clams and quahogs, and there are certain areas, so further intertidal would be where you're going to find the soft shell clams, and then the quahogs are further out in the mud, and we're right in that mid-tidal area, so we can actually find both. I believe we'll find more quahogs out here, so I'll probably just use my hand instead of the fork. So this is the product, which are quahogs. These are the hard shell. These are what gentlemen are out here harvesting right now because the season closes in the winter, every winter for the town of Brunswick. We actually normally close it on the 15th, but because of the changing of weather and temperatures rising, we are now keeping it open till the end of the year. So this is their last few weeks that they're able to harvest these, but it will open back up again April 1st of next year. So this airboat, the town purchased in 2019 to replace the previous airboat that we had for 20 plus years. It was in much dire need to get replaced. This one is by far the Cadillac of all airboats. It has 5/8 inch thick polymer on the bottom, so I'm able to go across mud, rocks, asphalt, grass, ice. And talking about ice, that's one of the big reasons why we have this. We use this for a lot of ice water rescues. We train a lot with the fire department as they are the ones that are going into waters, and I am basically their transporter using this device. A lot of other times too, during the summer months when it's warmer out, we're actually doing surveys out here in the mud, and or we're bringing out materials, whether it's we're doing something shore erosion or we're doing coastal cleanups. I can operate this across the mud, across the water, back onto the mud, load it up with thousands of pounds, and get back towards the landing with no problem whatsoever. If we were to try to walk or put this into a little boat, we'd either have to wait on the tide, or we would be very, very tired after plugging all that stuff through the mud. So this is a shoreline restoration project that we've been working on for the past 2 years. When I say we, as in the town of Brunswick, the state of Maine, and there was a few other entities involved. All of this product was brought out by Airboat. The logs were actually brought out by a barge, which we could have put onto the airboat, but we did not. What you'll see in the bags, the burlap sacks, and on the ground and in the other grid area to the left, those are all shell that have been cleaned to make sure there's no debris or disease inside or on the shell, so it's not going to tamper or mess up with our mud flats here. The point of this was to see how we could hopefully save just this small little area. Has worked out well. We've seen what we can use and what we cannot use, but the shell has definitely helped out immensely, and 95% of this product is all biodegradable within 5 years, so minus the logs. And that was one thing that the state as well as us wanted to make sure that if anything was going into the water, it was going to be biodegradable. But this is one of those projects, if we didn't have this airboat, there's no way that we would have been able to get all this equipment and material out here.
This is our robot that we acquired free of charge to us. We've used this on occasion for trying to make contact with individuals who have maybe in possession of a firearm. We've had individuals who are not responding to us, and we're concerned for our safety, so rather than put an individual in harm's way, we'll send the robot up to try to make contact with them with the using the camera to see what's going on with the person to make sure they're still safe. One aspect of this tool that we use also, in addition to trying to make contact with individuals that may be a harm to us, we use for any sort of suspicious package. If we are called to a backpack that may be someone left behind in a place that seems unusual or could be suspicious, in order to make sure that we're safe, we would use this to get down range and collect it and put it in a, maybe transport it to a safer spot so that we could have people examine that from the bomb squad that we would call in. Another tool that we use is the UAV, unmanned aerial vehicle, and that is something we acquired with a grant through the Federal Railroad Administration, through DOT about 5 years ago. And we use it for several purposes. Mostly, we've used it for search and rescue. We've had been called to individuals who are either wanderers, dementia patients, autistic children, or we've individuals who are suicidal may have gone into the woods. We use that. Any sort of missing person. Another use for the UAV is at crash scenes. Our crash reconstruction unit will use this to map. We have software. We can have 3D mapping of the scene, and by using this UAV, compared to the older days when we used to have to use just the total station, it's so much faster to actually map the scene. It gets the roads open within minutes now rather than hours. So it'd take about half an hour to map a scene completely, depending on the size of it. But we got a lot of uses that way. Also with the UAV, we use it for where we have waterways here in town to either search for people that have gone into the water. We've used it. It's good in the fact that any marshy area where it'd be hard for someone to walk over to search for somebody, we can use that to fly over. Also, in addition to like where an airplane would be flying just directly overhead, we can actually fly down if we had like an embankment
at the coastline. We could actually fly low to look inside for any debris or any person that may be inside there. For use of the UAV, all members of the department who use it are licensed through the FAA. They have their 107 and have been trained in it. We have logging requirements. Every flight we take is logged, it's recorded, and the flight paths are actually recorded electronically. I'm also mandated every year to file a report with the Maine Criminal Justice Academy about the usage of it, and every time it's been deployed, we have to fill out a report for them at the end of the year.
Another responsibility that I have as the support services commander is to oversee the hiring process for both sworn and non-sworn personnel. So for patrol officer, for sworn personnel, or for communications. We do have a recruitment team that we initiated not all that long ago, and it's worked out well for us. And the recruitment team consists of officers, sworn personnel from the department, and non-sworn personnel. That it's a volunteer program, and if someone puts an application in or express interest, they're assigned a recruitment team member to kind of guide them through the process. And how that works is I will get an application in, and I will respond back to the individual that's applying for a job, and I'll tell them what they need. We have a minimum requirement for the alert test. We have a polygraph and psychological exam that has to be completed before they'll even be considered with a final offer. So that process along the way needs someone to initiate the contact and to follow through with it. And I just come in and I will either assign the background investigator, and we work together on it, or a member of the recruitment team might also be the one that does the background investigation on the person. And that's how that works with regard to hiring. For communications, they have a unique set of requirements that obviously other sworn personnel don't have, and I work with the supervisor down there on screening out potential applicants for those positions as well. I would encourage anyone that's interested in joining the Brunswick Police Department to go to the website, take a look at the link to the police department, visit our Facebook page. We have a recruitment video that was put together that talks about some of the things that we do, and get an application in. Once you get the application in, someone will reach out to you. The recruitment team is very good at bringing people in, showing them around, showing them what we do, coming for a ride along. And once that application is received, you should hear from someone relatively quickly. And part of my responsibilities as the support services commander is also I'm the training coordinator for the agency. That includes TASER, firearms training, and any other training that involves not just use of force, but it could be for patrol operations. Any training at all comes through our office upstairs. We have several state certified instructors here on staff at the Brunswick Police Department. We also lead several programs up at the academy, so there are instructors that teach instructor programs. So, for example, we have firearms instructors that certify other firearms instructors. In fact, the lead municipal instructor at the academy is a Brunswick police officer. The lead crimes in progress at the academy, which is an interactive scenario-based training that all cadets get, and instructors across the state receive that training, are trained by a Brunswick police officer, lead instructor. So that's beneficial to us in a lot of ways. They're always, as the training trends evolve, they're up to speed on the latest technology and training philosophies. They also are ahead of the curve when it comes to updates and upgrades on different training equipment and training programs or adjustments to the criteria. So it is beneficial for us. The only part that we have to contribute from Brunswick is the officer may be away from his responsibilities here to train at the academy, but again, to me, the trade-off is invaluable, and it's good for us to have that foothold at the academy. Every officer annually receives TASER training, and you have to go through the training. Once you get certified, every year you have to recert, and we do it right here at the PD. We have targets that we use, And the officers are trained, again, by one of our own instructors. Because we have certified instructors on staff, there are other agencies that don't have their own instructors, so we will certify them. We also help out with firearms training too in that program. If there's an agency that needs to have somebody qualified, instead of driving to Augusta to get it done, they can just come over and we'll have a Brunswick instructor certify them as well.
We're now in the Criminal Investigation Division. This is where the detectives work out of, and here with me is Detective James Fisher.
I'm Detective James Fisher. Here in the Criminal Investigation Division, we have a wide array of specialties. Mine specifically is computer forensics. I've received a lot of training, and I do forensics for any mobile device, computers, tablets, etc.
My name is Justin Kittredge. I'm also a member of the Criminal Investigation Division. I spend the majority of my time working on proactive investigations, seeking to deter crime throughout the community of Brunswick. Some of our more recent investigations have involved bank robberies and ATM robberies. In addition to traditional law enforcement techniques, such as speaking with witnesses and collecting evidence, we also spend a great deal of time utilizing James's expertise when it comes to seeking out digital evidence and location tracking in an effort to find our suspects.
Part of my responsibilities as the CID commander is to oversee the detective division, which includes evidence collection, evidence processing. Here we are in the evidence room now. This is where all the evidence is stored that's pending cases that are being adjudicated. Also, there are items held for safekeeping, recovered stolen property. There are some items in here waiting to be processed. I have 7 detectives that work in this unit, and we have a drug agent as one of those detectives. There are some that specialize in forensic evaluations for telephones and computers and other electronic devices. Again, that property is stored in this evidence area here. As part of the CID is our, which is our Criminal Investigations Division, is our drone, our UAV unit, and that particular piece of equipment can also be used to photograph evidence. It gives us aerial views of crime scenes. We can use it for mapping a crime scene. And again, as we had mentioned earlier, that we are available. We're a forensic unit that's very well trained. All our detectives, all 7, go to homicide investigation schools. They process crime scene processing schools. But we're available to other agencies, and we get called often to respond out and assist, say Freeport, Topsom, other areas that need our help. We've been down to Portland several times. It's a good program because they help us. They have some resources that we don't. We have some resources that they don't. And it's also a force multiplier. More detectives on a scene a lot of times can be appropriated to specific tasks. What we do here in this particular area, though, is very limited. So this evidence room here, our evidence custodian is the only one that has full access to it. And even for us to film in here, we had to be let in, and it's very limited, and it's all recorded who goes in and out of here. These pieces of evidence that get processed, that go into there, that gets logged out, and then it gets logged back in. And there are several detectives that are involved in the processing of the evidence, but there's only one evidence custodian for the Brunswick Police Department.
We're now in the evidence processing room. Detective Sergeant Moore is here, and he's going to process a firearm that we've recovered in a recent case, and he's going to be assisted by Detective Fisher.
So they packaged the firearm up in an evidence box. They sealed it with evidence tape, and our job is to process it for any potential DNA or any fingerprints that may be on it. Obviously, the firearm, I want to make sure it's safe. First thing I'm going to do is check to make sure it's unloaded. It is. To process this firearm, just try to identify who was in possession of it. It is stolen. We use, first process I would do is to fingerprint it. We use a sterile brush and sterile fingerprint powder. And so that if we ever needed to, if we only had a partial print, we couldn't get enough of the examination on the fingerprint, we could still process the print for DNA. So just add a little bit of powder, doesn't take much. I process both sides. It looks like I have something right there. Okay. To collect the fingerprint, there's a few different methods we could use. We could use gel lifters, or we could use tape. I'm going to use tape on this one. Looks like we have some friction ridge detail on the barrel. So I'm going to use this clear tape to recover it. Yeah. By looking at that, I see several points that could be used by a fingerprint examiner to try to identify the individual who this belongs to. For the second part of our evidence collection on this firearm, I'm going to try to find DNA, and that is done, which we call a blind swab. There's no blood on this firearm, so nothing I can collect that way, nothing I can see readily apparent. So by attempting to find skin cells, which are obviously invisible to my eye, but hopefully through this collection, we could submit it to the Maine State Police crime lab, and they could put it through their process and identify the person that handled this firearm. So for that, I'd use a sterile swab and some sterile water. For the process with the sterile swab and the sterile water, like I described, I would find a surface that the person would have touched. And this surface of the hammer of the firearm is good because it has some texture to it where skin cells would shed onto. And so for that, I would just simply scrub this with the cotton tip swab. And this would get put in an envelope, and this is what gets sent up to the lab.
So the patrol division at the Brunswick Police Department has many duties. You've probably heard about some of them from some of my fine officers. Throughout the year, some of our additional duties include public safety grants, whether it's distracted driving, impaired driving, speeding, things that are problems year-round, but there will be a period of time where we're going to really focus on this. One of which is the impaired driving, OUI driving grant that we're currently in the process of running. All of our officers are trained at the academy, and then when they come out through field training to look for and to remove unsafe drivers from the road. Sometimes we just come across it in our duties, and sometimes the public helps us, which we rely upon because there are a lot more drivers out there in the public than there are us, and we get operation complaints routinely that result in taking an unsafe driver off the road. So one of the things that I have next to me right now is our newest intoxilizer 9000 that we're in the process of training all of our officers on. We have academy certified instructors again who are giving us this training. We're very fortunate to have that right here at home. And anytime that a patrol officer makes an arrest for impaired driving, they're going to give the person who is arrested this intoxilizer, regardless of whether or not it's drugs or alcohol. And once they breathe a few samples into this, it's going to spit out a result that's going to tell us if they're over the legal limit for blood alcohol content. If that's the case, then they're charged with OUI. If it's not the case, if it was 0 and nothing's registering, but we see impairment, that's the point where we would bring in a specially trained officer, a drug recognition expert who would sit down and conduct an evaluation to try to determine the drug category that they're under the influence of. We take impaired driving very seriously, as all agencies should. Our family and friends and citizens in this town and people passing through are driving on these roads, and we need to keep them safe.
There are many other things we do here at the Brunswick Police Department that people aren't aware of. We do a lot of community engagement and public service announcements on our various social media pages. We also help People Plus with their Good Morning program, which means We have 21 residents of Brunswick, Harpswell, and Freeport that call in every morning by 10 a.m. We, as the communications officers, check those voicemails, make sure that everyone is called in, that they're okay. And if they've not called in, we reach back out to them in their emergency contacts to make sure that they don't need any assistance. We also provide child safety seat installations. One of our communications officers has been trained to be certified to install child safety car seats into any vehicle. We also partner with many of our local resource agencies, such as Midcoast Hunger Prevention Program and the Marines for Toys for Tots. Around this holiday season, we collect boxes and boxes of toys to be delivered to various families within our community, and we collect all non-perishable donations to help Midcoast Hunger Prevention Program with all of the services they provide our community through this holiday season.
My name is Joe Westridge. I'm a 911 dispatcher from Brunswick Police Department. I've been here since 2018, and I've come here to talk to you about Project Lifesaver. Project Lifesaver is a program designed to locate people that have been diagnosed with a cognitive disorder such as Alzheimer's, dementia, autism, or Down syndrome. And what the patient would wear is a bracelet that has a unique transmitter frequency in this, and when they do go missing, the family would contact 911, and the dispatcher will take the information about the missing person, where were they last seen, how long ago. In our CAD system, we have the frequencies assigned. The officer trained as an electronic search specialist will respond with this device. This is a receiver, which will have the frequency number punched in here, and the officer will respond to the scene, and they're listening for this sound. As they get closer to the person, the chirp gets louder. This device is good for a mile distance, and when they have the car antenna on as they're driving to that last known location, it's good for a quarter mile around in all areas. This program is supported by grants, because we believe that families have such a burden taking care of someone with Alzheimer's, dementia, autism, or Down syndrome that we don't want the cost to be a burden to them. Each bracelet is $325. We have had several residents in Brunswick sponsor a bracelet. The local police department cannot go out and solicit funds, but we have had residents sponsor a bracelet for a loved one that they lost in the past. And the officer will be assigned to that client, and they will meet with them once a month to change out the battery and the band every month. Brunswick Police Department received an inquiry from a resident who came from out of state that had Project Lifesaver where she used to live. She moved to Brunswick. She was instrumental in helping the police department find a grant to be able to have this Project Lifesaver program in the town of Brunswick. This Project Lifesaver is international, so if I moved to another state, or if I go on vacation and I go missing from another state, the caregivers will call 911 there and report the same information, that they're a Project Lifesaver from Brunswick, Maine. They'll get the frequency, and they can send their officers out in the field to locate that person. So it's international. In fact, they just had their 4,000 rescue. A person located with this device since 1999. 4,000 people have been rescued. The bracelets that are worn by the client, it's a radio frequency transmitter. Each bracelet has a unique frequency, and it's a proven technology. If you have GPS, you can go into a wooded area that has heavy ground cover, and you may not be able to hit that satellite. So we've found that the radio frequency is a lot more proven in cases like that. If you are interested in signing up a client or registering a family member for Project Lifesaver, you would contact the police department. My email address will be provided. We would meet with you. There's some documents to fill out, and then on the second meeting, you would bring your client with you or your family member, and we would place the bracelet on them. And at that time, the information goes into our CAD system, as well as a database for Project Lifesaver. Again, having that information, a picture of the person, their height, weight, things like that, that the officer will be readily available to recognize that person walking on the street or something like that when they're trying to locate them. Our challenge right now for Project Lifesaver, the challenge that we have is we have bracelets that have been donated. We've written grants. We're up to about $24,000 to $28,000 in grants to support this program. But the challenging part is we don't have clients. We have people in our communities that have Alzheimer's, dementia, or autism, but we need them to be enrolled in our program to be beneficial. You don't wait until they wander that one time. You register them now in case they wander. This doesn't take away from what families do to take care of their person. It's a little bit of a safety net so that we can look in quickly, especially in weather like this, 13 degrees out tonight. It's a cold night. We'd like to locate them really quickly. The law enforcement agencies in the state of Maine, there's approximately 8 agencies right now using this program, including the Maine Warden Service, Saginaw County, which includes Thompson PD, Bath PD, Richmond PD, as well as Freeport PD. We've had a range of number of clients enrolled at the same time, probably about 4 or 5 people, but as they move out of state, or we actually signed somebody up in Bath, he was on our program prior to Saginaw becoming an agency. So once they became an agency, we transfer him over to them. So our numbers go up and down, but it's under 5 right now, how many people we have enrolled in the program. Again, it's free. There's no cost at all. We meet once a month to change out those batteries, and there's still no cost to the families for this. When they are done with the bracelet, they move out of state, they move into a secure facility. We'd like to get that bracelet back so we can issue it to somebody else in need. Prior to coming to the Brunswick Police Department as a dispatcher, I used to work for another agency as well as volunteer for a search and rescue group. The volunteer rescue group got called out for a missing gentleman who had Alzheimer's in the town of Bristol. The gentleman had been gone for about 8 or 9 hours, and he was finally located alive with K-9 teams from the Warden Service as well as local fire department members as well, and our search and rescue team. So that led us to research some sort of device that could be used for people that have been diagnosed with a cognitive disorder, such as Alzheimer's, to be able to locate them quickly should this occur again. And that's where we found Project Lifesaver. There are other companies out there that use GPS, but we found that the radio frequency right now has been proven technology. And the company is trying to work on a device that does both radio frequency and GPS for the future, but it's still in the testing phases at this time.
We're now in the lobby of the police department, which is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. People can bring their unwanted or unused prescription medication here and drop it off in this green box whenever they want, placing it right in there and leaving. We can't accept needles or liquids, though. We take our commitment to public service very seriously here at the Brunswick Police Department. Our core values are professionalism, integrity, leadership, fairness, respect, and service. And those are more than just words to us. They're part of our community policing philosophy. They're intertwined in all of our policies and procedures that we have that help us interact with the public day to day. And we proudly display them throughout the building. Most importantly, they're at each and every exit to remind us why we're here and what our mission is, and actually ingrains in us the ability to do the best that we can do to interact with the public each and every day.